This is not a drill. Something huge is happening right now, and information is surfacing at a pace we rarely see, which is exactly why fans should be paying close attention. If you're ready to dive into what could easily be one of the biggest Kendrick Lamar leaks we've ever witnessed, then stay locked in, because this gets interesting fast. And before we go any further, if you believe Kendrick Lamar is the greatest rapper in the game today, make sure you hit that like button, show some support for the channel, and subscribe, because trust me, you're not going to want to miss what's coming next. The temperature around Kendrick's camp has been rising for a reason, and suddenly a lot of things that were once hidden seem to be coming into the light. Before we break down these newly surfaced records, what Kendrick appears to be saying through them, and where fans can finally hear some of this material on demand, there's another development that deserves serious attention. This latest leak feels incredibly significant, and honestly, it has me thinking that not only is more content on the way, but that all of these details emerging at once could mean something major is currently being finalized behind the scenes. Now, I'm not suggesting this is the same strategy we've seen from people who intentionally leak material just to test public reaction or gauge whether audiences approve before moving forward. What I am saying is that Kendrick may have been sending visuals, songs, or other assets to a platform, distributor, streaming service, or business partner, and somewhere in that process, something may have slipped through unexpectedly. That's simply one of the risks that comes with operating at this level of the industry. I don't believe Kendrick deliberately leaked any of this himself, but it's becoming harder and harder to ignore that something very big appears to be unfolding. And now, things get even more interesting because footage, clips, and transitions from Kendrick Lamar's record-breaking Grand National Tour are finally becoming available for fans to examine closely. For the first time, we're able to study these visuals and hear portions of the audio with a level of clarity that simply wasn't possible during the live shows. What we're discovering is that Kendrick packed an unbelievable amount of detail into these moments, details that were nearly impossible to catch inside stadiums filled with 80,000 screaming fans. But if these clips were ever meant to be viewed up close, then it's clear many of those hidden cues were placed there intentionally for people to eventually uncover. Now that we're finally able to watch these visuals directly, instead of experiencing them from hundreds of feet away inside massive stadium environments, those clues are beginning to stand out in a completely different way. And one particular detail Kendrick left behind is especially important because it may reveal far more than fans initially realized. The moment comes from one of the opening visual sequences of the Grand National Tour, where Kendrick moves through a series of striking shots while whacked-out murals begins to play in the background. Then, out of nowhere, he delivers a line that instantly changes the entire conversation when he says, "I take that back. I am the savior." Before we go any further with this, I've got to say one thing. Being a Kendrick Lamar fan is incredibly rewarding because this is an artist who hides meaning in the smallest details and somehow makes every line matter. And what Kendrick is clearly referencing here is the message behind the album Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, especially the themes explored throughout the project and its title track. The way this moment is presented feels very deliberate and mirrors that earlier message almost perfectly. And now he's revisiting that same idea, flipping it around, and if you've spent time with that album, then you already know exactly what he's pointing toward. What we're witnessing now feels like either a payoff to those ideas, or maybe more accurately, a continuation of a story that Kendrick started telling years ago. Now, we have Kendrick speaking during the Grand National era, long after the rap battle era changed the landscape, and suddenly he's suggesting that maybe he is the savior after all, almost as if he's reconsidering the stance he once took. Of course, there's a level of irony layered into the statement, and I still believe the core message of Mr. Morale remains intact, because Kendrick has never presented himself as someone whose job is to save the world. He has consistently rejected that responsibility and made it clear that placing that kind of expectation on any artist is unrealistic. Kendrick has never been shy about drawing that line. But when it comes to hip-hop, music culture, or even entertainment as a whole, the conversation becomes a lot more interesting. So let me know what you think in the comments, because this is where opinions are really going to split. Is Kendrick Lamar the savior of rap, or is that taking things too far? Personally, I don't think it's an unreasonable argument at all. When you step back and look at the current state of the rap game and compare it to what Kendrick represents, sometimes people earn that label simply because they're operating on a completely different level than everyone else. When your impact is bigger, your influence is stronger, and your contribution consistently elevates the culture, people naturally start viewing you differently. To me, that's exactly the point Kendrick seems to be making here. And honestly, from the connection back to Mr. Morale to what this could mean in today's rap landscape, I absolutely love the direction he's taking with this message. Over the last several days, we've watched new details emerge, new clips surface, and Kendrick's presence become impossible to ignore throughout the hip-hop world. The energy around his name feels different right now, and you won't believe how quickly that momentum is building. It genuinely feels like Kendrick is positioning himself for something major, and if all these clues are leading where many fans think they are, then he could be preparing to make a move that changes the conversation once again.
And the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because once you accept the possibility that something much bigger is on the horizon, a lot of these recent developments start looking very different. At the same time that footage from what many fans are calling the biggest rap tour in the world is being released, we're also seeing speculation and confusion reach an entirely new level. And now there's another piece of the puzzle that has people talking. According to reports, someone traveling on a highway headed toward California spotted 4 Buick Grand Nationals, or GNXs, being transported together on a trailer, making its way toward Los Angeles. Now sure, there are other explanations for that, but considering how rare these vehicles are, and the fact that there were 4 of them in one shipment, it's enough to raise some eyebrows. Add in the fact that this happened on the West Coast, right as all these Kendrick-related stories continue surfacing, and suddenly the timing starts to feel a little too interesting to ignore. That's what keeps standing out to me, because so many GNX references and Kendrick-related clues seem to be appearing at the exact same moment. It almost feels like all of these signs are pointing towards something that hasn't been officially announced yet. And if these leaks are happening because material is being submitted, processed, or finalized somewhere behind the scenes, then there may be a much larger rollout already in motion, even if it ends up being connected to future live performances or something similar. Don't forget that we recently discussed reports suggesting that Kendrick Lamar is expected to perform in parts of Asia later in 2026. If that's accurate, then there's a strong possibility that additional tour dates and major appearances could still be on the way. And when you think back to the GNX album rollout, where Kendrick featured multiple Grand Nationals in promotional material before using another version during the Super Bowl and on tour, the connection becomes even harder to overlook. All I'm saying is that there are enough clues here to make fans wonder whether these vehicles are tied to someone who has made the Grand National such a major part of his artistic identity. At this point, there are plenty of reasons why people are making that connection. But even beyond the Grand National sightings and beyond that fascinating tour clip where Kendrick appears to play with the idea of being the savior of rap, another development may be even more important. New Kendrick Lamar music has started finding its way out of the vault, and every new leak only increases the belief that something massive could be approaching. We're going to break down what that could potentially lead to, because the possibilities are becoming harder to ignore. A full Kendrick Lamar track has now surfaced, and honestly, it delivers everything fans expect from him. It's powerful, thought-provoking, packed with intent, and in my opinion, more compelling than most of what the rap world has released this year. The song is reportedly titled Boom, or Here Comes the Boom, and it's already generating serious conversation among fans. And what's even more interesting is that sources familiar with the record claim it was originally recorded back in 2024, which opens up an entirely new set of questions about why it's surfacing right now. According to the information circulating right now, this track was reportedly created during the sessions for Kendrick's GNX era, but ultimately didn't make the final album. And if that story is accurate, it becomes even more impressive when you remember that producers, including Jack Antonoff, have previously suggested Kendrick worked through an enormous amount of material before narrowing the project down to just a handful of records. Honestly, after hearing this song, I can't help but wish the album had been twice as long, because this record absolutely deserves to see the light of day. What makes it even more exciting is that the track brings together several generations of talent connected to the TDE family. The song features none other than J-Rock alongside Ray Vaughn, creating a lineup that feels like a bridge between different eras of the label's history. You have one of the foundational figures who helped build the reputation of the camp, one of its most promising newer voices, and then Kendrick Lamar, who has become arguably the biggest rapper on the planet. That's a combination that's hard to ignore, and it's exactly why this record stands out so much. The TDE connection feels especially important here because there may be a larger purpose behind why this song is suddenly appearing now. And trust me, that's a point worth keeping in mind as we continue putting these pieces together. One reason this leak has people paying such close attention is because Kendrick Lamar records rarely surface without a reason. Most of the time, if a Kendrick song is making its way around, it's because the file exists somewhere outside of his immediate control, is connected to another artist, or is being processed through a different channel for a future release. That's why I keep wondering if this goes beyond being just another leftover GNX track sitting in the vault. Maybe it has something to do with Kendrick's next chapter, although I'm not completely convinced of that yet. Or maybe the song has been handed over to J-Rock, Ray Vaughn, or even a larger TDE-related project that could be in development. There's also the possibility that this could end up attached to a long-rumored TDE anniversary release, and honestly, this record would fit that concept perfectly. Right now, we simply don't have enough information to say for sure. What we do know is that the song is real, the performances are real, and every artist involved came ready to deliver. Kendrick is attacking the beat, J-Rock sounds locked in, and Ray Vaughn more than holds his own throughout the record. The energy is undeniable from beginning to end. And here's the biggest thing. This song is way too strong to stay unreleased forever. Somebody needs to officially put this track out because the reaction it's generating already feels different from the average leak that pops up online. Kendrick leaks rarely create this level of attention, and the conversation surrounding this record proves exactly why. If you haven't heard it yet, it's already spreading across multiple platforms and communities as fans search for wherever they can find it. The buzz isn't just coming from curiosity, it's coming from the quality of the music itself. Part of what's making the song resonate so much is that it feels like a reunion of major forces within the same camp. We're talking about one of the biggest artists in music reconnecting with the team and roots that helped shape his career, and that alone is a headline-worthy moment.
There are also some bold statements and themes throughout the record that have fans analyzing every line. But even before getting into the lyrics, the fact that Kendrick and J-Rock are sharing a track again is a huge story by itself. A lot of people may not realize just how long it's been since we've gotten that combination. When you look at J-Rock's recent history, the excitement makes even more sense because he hasn't exactly been flooding the market with releases over the last several years. That's why hearing him on a new record alongside Kendrick feels so refreshing and full of potential. It's been close to a decade since J-Rock's last major album cycle, and it's also been years since he and Kendrick last connected on a song together. Whether fans remember their work around the Black Panther era or collaborations like Wow Freestyle, the gap between those moments and now has been significant. That kind of history adds extra weight to everything we're hearing on this leak. And the crazy part is that they still sound completely natural together, almost like no time has passed at all. Just hearing J-Rock back in this environment is a reminder of how valuable his presence is to hip-hop. From his commanding delivery to the way he attacks a beat with confidence and precision, he remains one of the most unique voices in the genre. More importantly, he's always brought something special out of Kendrick whenever they share a record together. Their chemistry has consistently produced standout moments, and that's exactly why this collaboration feels so important right now.
And that's exactly why this track stands out so much to me, because Kendrick and J-Rock always seem to bring another level in each other's performances. Both of them absolutely attacked this record, and when you remember that these are the same artists responsible for classics like Money Trees, it becomes even more impressive. Listening to a song this polished, this energetic, and this complete makes you wonder how it could possibly be left off a project like GNX unless there was another purpose for it. At this point, it honestly feels more likely that the song was being saved for something else rather than simply being discarded. That's the only explanation that really makes sense to me. Because there is absolutely no way I'm supposed to believe that everyone involved heard this record and collectively decided it never deserved a release. This isn't the type of track that gets forgotten about and left sitting on a hard drive forever. The chemistry, the energy, and the execution are all way too strong for that. Even when comparing it to parts of GNX, I think this song easily holds its own and would have fit naturally into the conversation around the album. That's why I keep coming back to the idea that it was intentionally moved elsewhere for a future rollout, a different project, or maybe even something bigger that we haven't seen yet. And when you start looking at the best rap collaborations and hardest-hitting records we've gotten recently, this one deserves to be mentioned alongside them. What makes it special isn't just the bars, it's the history between the artists that you can hear in every exchange. The back-and-forth moments between Kendrick and J-Rock feel natural because they've spent years building that chemistry. Then you get J-Rock stepping in with confidence and delivering one of those verses that instantly grabs your attention. The result is a track that feels explosive from beginning to end. Seriously, if you haven't heard it yet, go check it out, because it's one of those songs that immediately makes an impression. And while Kendrick and J-Rock will naturally get most of the headlines, I have to give credit where it's due, because Ray Vaughn absolutely showed up. He stepped onto a record featuring two massive personalities and didn't disappear into the background for a second. That's not easy to do when you're sharing space with artists of that caliber. He brought energy, confidence, and presence, and he deserves recognition for that performance. That said, Kendrick is still the centerpiece of the record, because every time he touches the mic, he finds a way to command the entire song. One of the moments that really stands out is when he asks, "What are you going to do when you grow up?" Because it's such a simple question, yet it immediately makes you think. What's crazy is that he's doing it in the middle of a hard-hitting track that still feels built for maximum impact. Then he follows it up with more personal and reflective questions that add another layer to everything he's saying. That's the kind of writing that separates great rappers from everyone else. Kendrick has always had the ability to make listeners feel multiple things at the same time, and this track is another perfect example of that talent. You get introspection, aggression, confidence, and purpose all wrapped into the same performance. Then the momentum builds into the pre-chorus before J-Rock comes crashing in with the main hook repeating, "Here comes the boom," creating one of those payoff moments that instantly sticks with you. The production helps elevate everything too, balancing atmosphere and intensity in a way that keeps the record feeling massive. Every piece of the song seems designed to hit exactly where it's supposed to. At the end of the day, this is what elite rap music sounds like. Great songwriting, great performances, great production, and great chemistry all working together at the same time. Kendrick and J-Rock have always thrived when creating music at this level, and hearing them reunite reminds you why fans have wanted another collaboration for so long. More than anything, records like this highlight how much attention Kendrick puts into every aspect of his craft. While many artists are either strong rappers or strong songmakers, Kendrick continues to prove that he can do both at an elite level, and that's what keeps separating him from the pack. And when Kendrick finally steps into his verse, he immediately takes control of the entire record with the kind of presence only a few artists in music can deliver. From the opening bars where he's mixing confidence, spirituality, and competitive energy into the same breath, you can hear exactly where his mindset is right now. What stands out most is that balance between wisdom and hunger, because even at the top of the game, Kendrick still sounds like someone with something to prove. As the verse develops, he starts weaving together references to historical figures, royalty, legacy, and greatness, creating a much bigger picture than what appears on the surface. That's what makes listening to Kendrick so rewarding in the first place. The writing itself isn't overly complicated by Kendrick's standards, but that's actually part of what makes it so effective. He takes accessible ideas and layers them with enough meaning that casual listeners can enjoy the song, while deeper fans have plenty to unpack. There are references that connect status, culture, Los Angeles pride, sports imagery, and personal ambition all within the same framework. It's smart without feeling forced, thoughtful without becoming preachy, and entertaining without sacrificing substance. That's an incredibly difficult balance to achieve, and Kendrick continues to make it look effortless. And this is exactly why so many artists should be paying attention. If Kendrick decided to officially drop a record like this tomorrow, it would immediately become one of the most talked about rap songs of the year, despite originally being viewed as leftover material. Think about that for a second. We're potentially talking about a track that didn't even make the final album, yet it still sounds stronger than entire projects released by major artists. And yes, I'm talking about some of the biggest names in the industry when I say that. That's how high the standard is here. Honestly, if you're a fan of hip-hop at its purest form, it's hard not to appreciate what this record is doing. The song delivers on lyricism, energy, chemistry, replay value, and overall execution all at the same time. That's why the reaction online has been growing so quickly, and why people keep searching for ways to hear it. The buzz isn't manufactured, it's happening because listeners genuinely connect with what they're hearing. This record earns the conversation surrounding it. And while everyone involved contributes something valuable, Kendrick remains the driving force behind the entire experience. One of my favorite parts is the way he asks personal questions throughout the hook and uses them to pull listeners directly into the song. It's not just catchy, it actually makes you reflect while still functioning as a hard-hitting rap record. Very few artists can make people think and keep them hyped at the exact same time. That's one of Kendrick's greatest strengths as a songwriter. Then you get the transition into the larger chorus moments where the energy explodes and the payoff finally arrives. The production feels cinematic, atmospheric, and aggressive all at once, creating the perfect backdrop for the performances. Everything builds naturally toward those huge moments without ever feeling forced or predictable. That's the mark of great song construction and great artistic direction. Every piece feels intentional from start to finish. Now, looking at the bigger picture, I can't help but feel that all of these leaks, clips, and discoveries are connected to something happening behind the scenes. Maybe material is being finalized, maybe projects are being submitted, or maybe we're witnessing the early stages of a rollout that hasn't officially started yet. Whatever the case may be, there's clearly a reason why so much Kendrick-related content is surfacing at the same time. It feels less like coincidence and more like pieces of a larger puzzle slowly coming together. And if that's true, then we could be much closer to a major announcement than people realize. What's exciting is that every possible outcome sounds promising. Whether this track ends up attached to a future Kendrick release, a J-Rock project, a Ray Vaughn project, or something connected to TDE as a whole, fans have plenty of reasons to be excited. We already know there was a massive amount of unreleased material created around the GNX era. On top of that, both J-Rock and Ray Vaughn are at points in their careers where new music would make perfect sense. That's why this leak feels important beyond just being another song. And then there's the other piece of the conversation, the now famous audio where Kendrick appears to revisit the idea of being the savior. Considering everything he explored on Mr. Morales, that's not the kind of statement you casually throw into a visual without purpose. It feels intentional, it feels calculated, and most importantly, it feels like a clue. Whether he's referring to his position within hip-hop, his influence on the culture, or something much bigger, it definitely sounds like someone setting the stage for another chapter. So where does all of this leave us? In my opinion, it leaves us waiting for the next move, because the momentum around Kendrick right now feels impossible to ignore. The leaked record has landed, the conversations are growing louder, and the speculation continues building every single day. You've got Kendrick reconnecting with one of his closest collaborators in J-Rock, while also sharing space with one of Los Angeles' rising stars in Ray Vaughn. That's a powerful combination, and if more music follows, the rest of the rap world may be in for a very long year. Because if this is only the beginning, then something much larger is almost certainly on the horizon. And with that said, I want to hear from you. What do you think about the leaked song? What do you think about the GNX-related developments? What do you make of the Savior audio and all the clues that seem to be surfacing at once? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is one of the most fascinating Kendrick discussions we've had in a long time, and I can't wait to see where everyone stands on it.